This happened about 3 weeks ago. No, Jack wasn't specifically tracking his wife. Everything happened quite routinely and stupidly. He called his wife at work during working hours, wanting to meet her for lunch to discuss upcoming changes in their children's lives. But she said she couldn't come for lunch because they had a meeting and she was very busy. Then he called Kate, his former classmate who worked in the same office as his wife. Jack's wife didn't know that he had studied with Kate, but Kate took an academic leave in the last year. Kate explained, "Olga left about 40 minutes ago with Henry. I don't know where they went, but according to the departure log, they left for the rest of the workday. Thanks, Kate. I owe you one." After thinking, Jack launched the Find Me app on his phone. He had installed these apps on all family members' phones, but the children had grown up, started their own families, and there was no need to track them. He found that Olga was in a restaurant downtown. The restaurant was located not far from his workplace. He quickly left the office, drove to the restaurant, parked the car, and saw Olga and Henry coming out. He took her by the hand and headed with her towards a third-rate hotel across the street. Jack cut through the path and suddenly emerged from the bushes right in front of them and loudly said, "Olga, I'm glad I found you. We need to talk." "Henry, hello." The lovers jumped away from each other, and Olga started saying some nonsense, not knowing how to explain her presence there to her husband, especially since she had recently told him on the phone that she was preparing for a meeting. Jack, being a true gentleman, suggested, "Olga, maybe we should go to the restaurant and have a bite?" "No, what are you saying? We need to go to work." "Great, let's go, I'll drive you." Olga resisted, but in the end, the three of them got into the car, and Jack drove them to work. Saying goodbye, he told his wife that he would pick her up in the evening. Since then, Kate has taken covert control over Olga and Henry. They, sensing this, didn't go anywhere anymore. But recently, Jack received information that his wife was planning to go to a corporate event where single women usually hang out, and she wasn't planning to take her husband, Jack. Jack was tired of all this detective work. He didn't want to play the role of a supervisor, controller, and guard anymore. The children had grown up, and his wife's feelings for him seemed to have faded. He could visit his grandchildren without his wife. Besides, he didn't consider himself old yet, and some attractive single women from his work were looking at him. He saw this as a sign that he needed to move on. Earlier, Jack had found out everything about his wife's lover, Henry. He was married, had children, and was heavily dependent on his wife. Thanks to her, he worked in that office as a department head. Jack obtained Henry's wife's phone number, and one evening, Olga announced her desire to participate in a corporate party with the girls from work on Friday. To which Jack said, "Sure, let's go sit dance." "You didn't understand. I'm going there alone with my lover." "With what lover?" "With the one I caught you with in the city when you were preparing for a meeting. You didn't even make it to the hotel with Henry then." "What lover is he?" "He's just a department head." "So he's a department head? That means he's not a man. Besides, he's not the head of your department. What kind of joint meetings can you have?" "But we were walking to the taxi stand when you met us." "In short, we either go together or not at all. Don't think I'll limit myself. We need to discuss this topic somehow." "What topic?" "Our life together. What don't you like about it?" "You know, I don't like anything about it. And in this Friday, I'm going to the employee evening and will come back late, maybe even in the morning. After all, I'm an adult girl and can make my own decisions about how to live." "I really hope so. But remember, I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight, and just in case, I'll remind you. This house belongs to me. And I'm sleeping in the guest room only because there are too many of your things in our bedroom." "What are these reminders for?" "For the fact that you won't get anything from my house in case of a divorce. This house was left to me by my parents, and where are you going to throw me out? I won't burden the children with you. I'll send you to your sister. She has a place. I think she'll take you in. And this is your thanks for such a long life together and wonderful children. You're destroying our family, and all just because I want to spend one evening with our colleagues. You want to spend the evening with colleagues and the night with your lover. You know, I'm not interested in this anymore. You've taken the path of betrayal and don't want to admit it. But our family was destroyed by you, not me. But you don't want to admit it. My attitude towards betrayal, you know. I can even go to him and say what I think about it. No need to go anywhere. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. Besides, I don't know if Henry will be there. I've told you everything. If you go to this evening, be prepared for us to break up. We'll see. So, without agreeing on anything, they went to their rooms. Olga, who had calmed down that day when she and Henry were heading to the hotel and were caught, suddenly realized. Jack had understood everything then. But she decided to continue her line of behavior, insisting that nothing had happened between them then. The next day, the confrontation continued. Olga got up as usual and prepared breakfast, which didn't cause any reaction from Jack. In the evening, she noticed that he hadn't called her at work all day. She went to Henry's office and told him what had happened. Henry supported her in her desire to insist that nothing had happened between them, and that was indeed the case. After they almost got caught, they stopped trying to be alone, choosing a more favorable time for it. Time passed, and they decided that if Jack had understood something, he had either calmed down or agreed that they were meeting. The next day, Olga prepared a dress and shoes to take with her to work and change there after the workday. These preparations did not escape Jack's notice. After Olga fell asleep, he slipped into the bedroom and turned off her alarm clock, knowing she would oversleep. That's exactly what happened. In the morning, she rushed out of the house and jumped on a minibus. Jack went into the bedroom and made sure that Olga hadn't taken the dress and shoes. She had forgotten. She just didn't have time to deal with it. An hour later, she called Jack and asked, "Jack, where are you? I took the day off today and I'm at home. Listen, I forgot my dress. It's hanging on the valet stand in the bedroom, and the shoes are next to it. Are you going to be near our office today?" "No, I don't plan to go anywhere. My attitude towards your party, you know. I'm against it." Olga, knowing that if she went home for the dress herself, it would be a scandal, asked, "Listen, do you know Anna? She's from your department." "Yes, I know her. I'm going to ask her to come to our house for my dress and shoes at the end of the workday." "Okay, I'll give her your things." "Great. I'm glad. Thank you." Olga thought Jack had resigned himself and asked Anna, "Anna, dear, could you go to my house at the end of the workday? My husband will give you my dress and shoes there. Henry will provide the company car." "What? Isn't Jack coming to our party? Anna doesn't go into the woods with firewood. But you have a lover, right? Don't talk nonsense. I just trust my husband. It seems to me you're wrong. We're already at the age where it's dangerous to throw husbands away, with whom we've spent most of our lives. And I'm not throwing anyone away. I just want one night with the girls. It won't hurt me. But the night, well, it will go as it goes. This is how it will be." Towards the end of the workday, Anna got into the company car and drove to Olga's house. They pulled up to the gate. Anna went through the wicket gate and saw Jack changing the lock on the front door of the house. She greeted him and said, "Jack, I'm here for Olga's dress." "Of course. She called and said you would come for her things. I'll help you." He opened the door, took out 3 suitcases from the hallway, and said, "Tell Olga that I've changed the locks in my house and her keys won't work. I've hired a lawyer to handle the divorce. You can contact him at this number. Here's his business card." Jack handed Anna the lawyer's business card and one of the suitcases. He carried the other 2 suitcases to the wicket gate himself. Meanwhile, Jack continued, "All the other things will be packed and sent to her sister's address tomorrow. The money from my cards has been withdrawn because she has duplicate cards. and I don't see the possibility of supporting her anymore. She almost has the same salary as me, and her savings are even bigger than mine. And I'll give you some advice, Anna. Don't go to these parties without your husband, otherwise your marriage will also collapse. And with your husband, don't go either, because someone from the single ladies might set their sights on him. Anna returned to work. Downstairs, her husband was already waiting for her. She asked him to wait and said, "We're not going anywhere." "Why?" "I'll tell you later. But for now, please help me carry these things to the department." In the department, the workday was almost over, and everyone was getting ready for the party. Anna entered with the suitcases and said, "Olga, I brought your things. I don't know exactly which suitcase they're in." Henry, who was sitting in the department, jumped up, and at that moment the security guard looked in and said, "Henry, someone sent your things here." "Who sent them?" "A taxi driver. And there's a letter." Olga frantically dialed Jack's number, but all she heard were short beeps. Anna announced, "I'm sorry, girls, I'm not going to the party." "Why?" "Your husband is already here. That's why I'm not going." "Because I have a husband, and I don't plan to lose him." Henry dialed his wife's number, and she answered, "Hello. Ksenia, what's going on? What are these things you sent me?" "You open and see. Mostly it's your work overalls, coveralls, jumpsuits, smocks. This is what was left from your previous job as a labor teacher. I think you'll find it useful. And here's what. Your HR department sent a request to the university where you studied. I think they'll fire you on Monday. I don't intend to work at the school anymore. Of course, it's dangerous, especially since you don't have the right to work as a teacher in a school, because even the fact that you graduated from a pedagogical college was bought in the metro. I never told you this. I figured it out myself. Comparing all your stories about life, I realized you never studied. You had no time for it. I talked to someone and found out the reasons why you suddenly wanted to go to a commercial organization to make money. I found out about your affair with a primary school teacher and then with one of the women from the parent committee. You know, their husbands are still looking for you. Why do they need this? They'll tell you themselves. Why did I tell them where you work? Maybe I made a mistake. I think we can figure this out. You didn't cheat on me this time, but you tried to. But today you decided to fix the situation. You even rented a third-rate hotel. You know, there might be bedbugs there. Ksenia, I don't understand why you're being so cruel to me. I didn't cheat on you this time. No, you tried to cheat, but Jack caught you. You got scared. But today you decided to fix the situation. You even rented a hotel. You know, there might be bedbugs there. Ksenia, I'm not going anywhere. The workday will end soon, and I'll come home. Interesting, where is that? The locks have been changed, and I'm leaving now. I have a date. With a man, of course. With a man, of course. And where will you be? Are you coming too? But you have a corporate event. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not interested in this, and I won't go home. And where will you live? I'll live at my parents' place of residence. Your things that are left, I'll pack tomorrow, and you can come pick them up on Sunday. Although I'll call you, maybe I won't come home tonight. Olga, realizing that her phone was blocked, took the landline phone and dialed Jack's number. He answered, "Hello. Jack, I'll be home soon. Don't go anywhere. I'm actually going on a date. Where will you go after the party?" "I already told you through your friend." "Jack, I'm not going anywhere. And by the way, Henry also had things sent to him." "Is this your doing?" "No, this is his wife's doing." "Ksenia. And was this planned by us together? And is your date with her tonight?" "I don't think that's any of your business who I'm going on a date with. You already warned me what would happen if you went to this party." "Yes, but I haven't gone anywhere yet. I still have 5 minutes of work left. And when the workday ends, I'll go home. I never cheated on you. Formally, yes. But our marriage is over. But you didn't cheat on me. There were only attempts, and they failed because of my resistance. There was or wasn't any betrayal, I don't care. I did everything to divorce you. But why? We've been together for so many years. We raised wonderful children. I'm not saying anything about that. And you'll explain the reason for the divorce to the children yourself. Just don't say I was a bad guy. Jack, you're overreacting to all this. We don't need to get a divorce. I love you and have always loved you and will always love you. Meetings? Yes, exactly. Just meetings with Henry. I liked them in a way, but I never went too far with him. He never posed a threat to you or our marriage. But that didn't stop you from destroying him, to crush him. Besides, where will I go? I didn't destroy him. This decision was made by his wife. In her decision, I didn't interfere, just as she didn't interfere in mine. I told Anna to go to her sister's. That's where I'll send all her things that are still in the house. Everything that happened today is the consequence of the confrontation, and I warned you about them. That's all. I'm running late. Henry waited for the conversation to end and started yelling at Olga, accusing her of everything. His language was not polite. The most decent thing he said was that she was a frigid fool. Everyone in the office fell silent. Finally, Kate stood up and said to everyone, "Have a good weekend and a great party. I'm going home. The workday is over." She changed her shoes, put on a light coat, and headed for the exit. The others also started to gather their things. Some even called home, informing that they would be home soon. So the party practically fell apart. Olga called a taxi and dragged her suitcases to the exit. Deep down, she still hoped that everything would work out. She couldn't believe that her husband, with whom she had spent so many years, would leave her. The ordered taxi arrived. When the driver asked her where to go, she said without hesitation, "To my sister's address." Her sister was home and about to have dinner. Seeing Olga with suitcases, she asked, "What happened? Did your husband kick you out?" "Exactly. He kicked me out, and I don't know what to do now." "And why did he kick you out?" "You always said he worshipped you." "That's true. But recently he found out that I was flirting with a colleague. Not only that, but he also caught us when we wanted to, shall we say, be alone in a hotel after an early lunch. Jack somehow found out about this, but we pretended to break up. I told him that nothing had happened between us, but Jack didn't believe me, and that's how it is. But now there's a corporate party planned. Now I understand that Jack knew everything, but I lied, saying that Henry wouldn't be there. I just wanted to spend one crazy night with him. And what? Did it happen? It was supposed to. Today I told Jack that husbands wouldn't be at the corporate party. And that was another lie. He forbade me to go there, said, "Either we go together or we don't go at all." But I resisted. But in the morning, I overslept for work. Rushing out, I forgot the dress for the party. I sent my friend Anna to get it, and she brought me these suitcases. Did he decide to leave you so suddenly? No, he warned me about the consequences that could happen. I think you haven't done anything yet, and didn't go to the party. You think he's already on a date with someone? I think so, with the wife of my colleague. He also had things sent to him. And what happened? I called Jack, and he said he was busy. On a date with whom? I think with the wife of my colleague. And he deserves it for blaming me for everything. Fun times, sister. Now you can go to parties every day. Why don't you go yourself? Aren't you free as a bird? Exactly, free as a bird. But that bird might get eaten by a spider at any moment. And your Jack showed you that he's not some immature guy. And he can solve his problems like an adult. Well, after your message that you were going to the party, he tried to talk to you. But you didn't understand and didn't accept it. You put all your efforts into subjugating him. But it didn't work out for you. I didn't put in any effort. Someone is just ratting me out. Otherwise, how would he know everything? That's not important. He told you his opinion, but you didn't listen to him. For yourself, somewhere deep down, you decided, whatever happens, happens. Well, come on in, get settled in your room, and let's go to the kitchen. We'll have dinner. Olga brought her suitcases into the room she used to occupy. She opened one of the suitcases, looked inside, found her home clothes, quickly changed, went to the bathroom, washed up, and entered the kitchen. Her sister had already set the table, poured 2 glasses of wine, and said, "Any spouse who makes one mistake deserves another chance. But not for a deliberate date, let alone a long affair. Although we all make mistakes in our lives from time to time, but sometimes we need to forgive something. Although in your case, knowing Jack's character, I don't see him meeting you halfway. You did everything to destroy your marriage yourself. And what should I do with this? I don't want a divorce. I now understand that I love my husband. You can't imagine how he called me in front of the whole department. Besides, he accused me of everything. We have children. Maybe it makes sense to try to influence the situation through them. I don't want them to know about this. Olga, you're now looking for excuses to justify yourself. That's what everyone who gets caught cheating does. But cheating didn't happen. What they say about emotional cheating is nonsense. Nonsense is sitting in front of me and trying to justify herself. Although it doesn't matter to me. After all, I studied philosophy. How can I compete with you, an economist? Olga, this is not a competition. I also made a mistake once, and as a result, now live alone. And what mistake did you make with your husband? A simple one. I believed that his former classmate was only communicating with him for work. And the corporate event, which she also attended, was very important for his career. And what did he grow up to be? I don't know. I haven't seen him for a year and a half, and he no longer works for that company. You also have a corporate event. I hope you didn't say it was important for your career. No, I didn't say that. At least I was smart enough not to say that. Well, do you want wine? Yes. Meanwhile, Henry, after thinking everything over, realized that he no longer worked there. And how great it was. After all, he made up all those legends about studying. Moreover, he could even be imprisoned. He had found out about this before. He could face a fine, but also community service, or up to 6 months in jail. Now he knew one thing. He had to resign immediately, since he would be fired from his job anyway. He sat down, wrote a resignation letter, went to the general director's office, who sometimes stayed late after work, and placed the letter on his desk. The director asked him why he was leaving, and he told him everything without hiding anything. After listening to him, the director laughed and said, "And I was wondering why you had so many elementary mistakes in your papers and didn't know the terms. I'll fire you starting Monday. Today I can't, because I have to give you your final pay on the day of termination. So fix the date and tell me, why did you get involved with a married woman? There are enough single ones in the departments. And in general, you should have partied in a different office. Look at the beauties working next door. It's a sight to behold. All right, I'll fix the workbook on Monday." Jack returned home late and allowed himself to sleep in the next day. Remember, today is Saturday. Then he got up, took a shower, had breakfast. After that, he started packing his wife's things, which he needed to send to her on Sunday. He packed them and carried them to the first floor into the large hallway, where he piled them up, not particularly caring if they got wrinkled. Unexpectedly, around 1 p.m., the doorbell rang. Someone was at the gate. He asked without looking through the video intercom, "Who's there?" "Dad, it's me, Svetlana, your daughter." Opening up, Jack pressed the button, and the gate opened. A minute later, Svetlana entered the house. Jack greeted her with open arms and offered, "Would you like to have lunch?" "Yes. But tell me, what are you doing?" "Well, I'm packing my wife's things. She moved in with her sister." "Tell me more about that." "I don't know what she told you. I haven't spoken to her since yesterday, and today I haven't turned on my phone yet." "I know I haven't. I can't call you." "And what did Mom tell you?" She said you kicked her out because she wanted to go to a corporate party with the girls from work after work on Friday. And that's all. Yes, that's all she told me. And what did Mom tell you? She said to give her the dress for the party, and you sent her 3 suitcases of her things and told her not to show up in your house anymore. Daughter, can you tell me, do you go to parties with your husband? Yes, of course. And do you always take him with you? And what if I was told that I shouldn't go there, but she said that she would come back the next day because she's an adult girl and can make her own decisions about how to live. And I know that Henry is hanging around her. He's married. They already tried to be alone in a hotel. Before that, I called her and told her that she was sitting in the office preparing for a meeting. And how could I know that? I caught them when they were walking to that hotel. And they couldn't explain to me why they weren't in the office, but 5 kilometers away from it. Svetlana, who is she? The head of the department. And I caught them when they were walking to that hotel holding hands. And they couldn't explain to me why they weren't in the office, but 5 kilometers away from it. And what did you do? I started following her. And when this saga with the party started, I already knew about it before she told me. And what did you do? I went to his wife and told her everything. When they came for the dress, I gave her the dress and 3 more suitcases. And I changed the locks and went to meet a woman. And where is she now? Has she left or is she still here? She's still here. But who is she? I won't hide it. I'm going to meet a woman. When she came for the dress, did you give her the dress and 3 more suitcases? And who beat up Henry? I don't know. Maybe one of his friends. I didn't do it. And what did you do? Jack saw his daughter off and continued packing his wife's things. At that moment, the police called on the video intercom. He saw that there were police officers in uniform at the gate. He thought, probably another move by his wife. She filed a complaint that I kicked her out of the house. He let the police in and invited them into the living room. One of the officers noticed the pile of clothes in the hallway and asked, "And what's with this mountain of laundry?" "It's my wife moving out." "And where to?" "I think to her lover." "Is she home?" "She's at her sister's now. I'll send her things there tomorrow." "What do you mean?" "I was home. I woke up late and didn't go anywhere." "And what happened?" "You need to come with us to the station." "What happened?" "Henry was beaten up in a hotel this morning." "Really?" "When you find out who did it, let me know. I'll hire him a lawyer and shake his hand." "Really? And was this done at your instigation or something?" "No, what are you talking about? I'm a law-abiding citizen. And I had the opportunity and reason to beat up Henry before, but I didn't do it. I don't see the point in sitting in jail because of some scumbag who's ruining families. And how many families has he ruined? For that, you need to talk to his wife. She has more specific information. I know that my family, which fell apart, was not the first on his list. They arrived at the station. The interrogation lasted a long time, but the investigator did not find out anything new. Explaining that Jack was suspected of a crime for which the criminal code provided for imprisonment for a term of more than 3 years. As a measure of restraint, the investigator chose detention for Jack. When Jack asked, "And why am I being detained?" "Nothing has been proven," the investigator replied. "We will investigate and make a decision in an hour." Jack was placed in a temporary detention cell. The next day, Sunday, a whole group of men were brought in and placed in different cells. 2 of them ended up in the cell with Jack. It was clear that the newcomers were not rookies. They were tough, seasoned men. They laughed off their detention, discussing only that they had stopped in time and did not resist the police. As Jack understood from their conversation, they had gotten into a fight with another group of visitors in a restaurant. Since no one was taken out for questioning that day, they were forced to communicate, and Jack told them why he was there. Hearing this, one of the newcomers laughed and said, "The police have nothing on you, and I'm the one who beat up Henry. He's not staying in that hotel for the first time." Once, he ordered a girl to his room and didn't pay us. He was warned then. And then we saw that he had booked a room again. So I went to see him, and he knew why he got what he got. I even took part of his debt from him. So you work in a hotel? Yes, in a hotel. And not in just one. We work with the girls in all the hotels. We hustle as best we can. All right, I'll help you. He took out a phone from somewhere and called someone. Jack didn't know what the conversation was about. After the call, he was told, "Your friend will refuse all his testimony and insist that he fell from the bed." Really? Is that even possible? Quite possible. And what does it matter to you? And what will happen to me? On Monday, you'll be taken to court, and your measure of restraint will be changed to a written undertaking not to leave. And when will I be released? In the afternoon. And what about you? I think we'll get 15 days. Though there are quite a few of us here. But all of us won't fit in one cell. And our girls helped us, but they didn't even go as witnesses. In short, the clients turned out to be rotten, with a touch of decay. If you have problems with someone in a bar or hotel, send them to me. My name's Clyde. On Monday, that's what happened. Around noon, they were taken to court. The judge carefully studied Jack's case, asked a couple of questions, and refused to apply the measure of restraint in the form of detention. She made several remarks on the case, including the poor quality of the victim's explanation and the hasty conclusions about the qualification of the article on grievous bodily harm. Nevertheless, Jack remained in police custody for some time, as he was brought there from the court. From there, he called work, but they already knew that he had been detained. So they had already requested a character reference for him. He said, "Oleg, please write the character reference. And today and tomorrow, put me down for days off. I'll come to work the day after tomorrow." Jack spent the rest of the day sorting and packing his wife's things. In the evening, Svetlana called him and asked if he needed help. He replied that he had already packed most of the things and would send them to Olga the next day. He asked Svetlana to come over the day after tomorrow to pick up the remaining things. She agreed. The next day, Jack hired movers to take the packed things to Olga's sister's house. While the movers were loading the car, he walked around the house, remembering the past. He remembered how he had brought his young wife to this house, how they had raised their daughters here, and how happy they had been. But all that was in the past. He made himself a cup of coffee and sat down on the porch, watching the movers load the last of Olga's things into the car. When they finished, he paid them and sent them on their way. He then called the lawyer and asked him to prepare the divorce papers. The lawyer said that he would prepare the papers and that Jack should come to his office the next day to sign them. Jack spent the rest of the day cleaning the house and putting away the things that Olga had left behind. He found old photo albums and looked through them, remembering the happy times they had shared. He felt a pang of sadness, but he knew that he had to move on. He had made his decision, and there was no turning back. The next day, Jack went to the lawyer's office and signed the divorce papers. The lawyer said that he would file them with the court and that Jack should receive a copy of the divorce decree in the mail. Jack thanked the lawyer and left the office. He felt a sense of relief, knowing that he had done the right thing. He knew that he had to focus on his own happiness and not let Olga's betrayal define him. Jack spent the rest of the day at work, catching up on the tasks he had missed while he was away. He felt a sense of purpose and knew that he had to keep moving forward. He had made his decision, and there was no turning back. He knew that he had to focus on his own happiness and not let Olga's betrayal define him. As the days turned into weeks, Jack began to feel a sense of peace. He knew that he had made the right decision, and he was ready to start a new chapter in his life. He began to go out more, meeting new people and enjoying his newfound freedom. He knew that he had to focus on his own happiness and not let Olga's betrayal define him. One day, while Jack was out for a walk, he bumped into an old friend whom he hadn't seen in years. They caught up on old times, and Jack told his friend about his divorce. His friend was supportive and invited him to a party he was hosting that weekend. Jack accepted the invitation, knowing that he had to start living his life again. At the party, Jack met a woman named Emily. She was divorced and had no children. They hit it off immediately and spent the rest of the evening talking and laughing. Jack felt a connection with her that he hadn't felt in a long time. He asked her out on a date, and she accepted. As the weeks turned into months, Jack and Emily began to see each other more frequently. They went on dates, took walks in the park, and even went on a weekend getaway together. Jack felt happier than he had in a long time, and he knew that he had made the right decision in divorcing Olga. Meanwhile, Olga was struggling to come to terms with her new reality. She had moved in with her sister Tamara and was trying to pick up the pieces of her life. She had taken a leave of absence from work, unable to face her colleagues after the scandal with Henry. She spent her days moping around the house, feeling sorry for herself and wondering how she had let things get so out of hand. Tamara tried to be supportive, but she was also dealing with her own issues. She had recently started seeing someone new, and she was trying to balance her new relationship with her responsibilities to her sister. She encouraged Olga to get out of the house and start living her life again, but Olga was resistant. One day, Tamara came home from a date with a big smile on her face. She told Olga that she had some exciting news to share. Olga listened half-heartedly as Tamara gushed about her new boyfriend and how happy she was. Olga couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy, wishing that she could find happiness again too. As the days turned into weeks, Olga began to emerge from her shell. She started going for walks in the park, and she even joined a book club with some of her friends. She began to feel like herself again, and she knew that she had to start living her life again. One day, while Olga was out for a walk, she bumped into an old colleague whom she hadn't seen in years. They caught up on old times, and Olga told her friend about her divorce. Her friend was supportive and invited her to a party she was hosting that weekend. Olga accepted the invitation, knowing that she had to start living her life again. At the party, Olga met a man named Robert. He was a retired colonel and a widower. They hit it off immediately and spent the rest of the evening talking and laughing. Olga felt a connection with him that she hadn't felt in a long time. He asked her out on a date, and she accepted. As the weeks turned into months, Olga and Robert began to see each other more frequently. They went on dates, took walks in the park, and even went on a weekend getaway together. Olga felt happier than she had in a long time, and she knew that she had made the right decision in moving on from Jack. Meanwhile, Jack and Emily's relationship was going from strength to strength. They had fallen in love, and they knew that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. Jack proposed to Emily, and she said yes. They began to plan their wedding, knowing that they had found happiness again. As the day of the wedding approached, Jack and Emily were filled with excitement and anticipation. They knew that they had found something special, and they were looking forward to starting their new life together. They exchanged their vows in front of their family and friends, and they knew that they had made the right decision in choosing each other. As Jack and Emily began their new life together, they knew that they had found happiness again. They had both been through a lot, but they had emerged stronger and more resilient. They knew that they had found something special, and they were determined to make the most of it. Meanwhile, Olga and Robert's relationship was also going from strength to strength. They had fallen in love, and they knew that they wanted to spend the rest of their lives together. Robert proposed to Olga, and she said yes. They began to plan their wedding, knowing that they had found happiness again. As the day of the wedding approached, Olga and Robert were filled with excitement and anticipation. They knew that they had found something special, and they were looking forward to starting their new life together. They exchanged their vows in front of their family and friends, and they knew that they had made the right decision in choosing each other. As Olga and Robert began their new life together, they knew that they had found happiness again. They had both been through a lot, but they had emerged stronger and more resilient. They knew that they had found something special, and they were determined to make the most of it. And so Jack and Emily and Olga and Robert began their new lives together, filled with love, happiness, and hope for the future. They knew that they had found something special, and they were determined to make the most of it. They had both been through a lot, but they had emerged stronger and more resilient, and they were ready to face whatever challenges came their way.